I don't know how much of that we want to keep in.
I'm going to edit. I was going to edit very strategically. Now I'll have to edit this bit out.
Let's just start here, because I think that'd be good for this one. I've been yawning the whole time, man. I'm sorry. I was like going to bring the energy for the actual thing. I'm just really knackered at the moment. So let's start fresh.
Fair enough. Well, so much for the cold open. I'll do a bit of an intro. We're back. It's the MMA Split Pick Show. We're going to do our picks and predictions for UFC Vegas. Initially, Makhachev versus Dariush. Now, Makhachev versus Bobby Green. Stepping in short notice at a catch weight. Josh isn't as thrilled about this as we've talked about on a previous episode. I am ecstatic.
I'm thrilled for the fight. Big fan of both guys. I am not a fan of what I view as the UFC disrespecting Bobby Green with this one, but doesn't matter. I've said my piece. We can put that. I don't need to bring that up today. We can just break down the fight.
Nah, very true. We're going to get into all of that. We'll touch a little bit on some John Jones news. That is, well, it's news. We're going to discuss that. A couple of other things that have popped up. A little look ahead to what's creeping around the corner next week as well. We've got to start with Bobby Green, though. This is it's a good card. I kind of use this expression, it's the card before the card, but there's like 3 or 4 matchups I'm really excited to see. And listen, Bobby Green, he basically fought like 2 weeks ago. Didn't get an early finish. Won the fight. One of his best performances was a decision. The fact that he's going on this short notice, I love it. I completely get where your mind's at, because I'm terrified for the same reasons. He said in his media scrum, he's got scars that haven't healed. He's got bruises that are still there. So that makes me nervous. But fuck Russia. Let's go. Bobby Green. Josh, tell me initially why this is making you nervous. Let me just start with first.
Not fuck Russia, fuck Putin, fuck the Kremlin, fuck every arsehole at the top of the tree right there that isn't doing the right thing and allows for this bullshit dictatorship to continue. But Islam Makhachev, what reasons that I think Bobby Green can upset him? Reasons to think that this one could be a lively proposition. Honestly, he's got one way to win, and it's a fucking long shot, and it's just constantly keeping Islam on the back foot, constantly moving forward, being smart with varied attack, and maybe even looking to shoot a couple of takedowns just to maintain some top control and just quieten down the pace a bit. I don't think it's possible over 3 rounds. I don't think it's ever going to happen over 5 rounds against this guy. Makhachev has a really, really great, not good, a fucking great takedown game. He has a vast array of different takedowns, and he gets them in positions that a lot of guys find hard to kind of defend. Any takedown can be hard to defend. What I mean is, you understand if someone's coming in heavy on a double leg sprawl, if someone's coming in on a single leg, stuff their head, get your leg out, try to get you back to the cage, certain things. He will take you down from the cage. He will take you down with trips. You have to be on it with your footwork. You need to be very educated as to his strengths and his skills. And Bobby Green's good. Bobby Green's fucking good. Solid stand-up, solid wrestling. As an MMA vet, he is savvy, he is smart, he does a very good job of getting guys to fight him on his terms. Doesn't always pan out for him. But, when he wants to scrap, he wants it up in close quarters. He does a good job of making that happen. And when he needs to back a man up, he can control them well. I just don't think it's going to happen in this one. I don't know, man. What's your, what would be your reason for putting a 5 on Bobby Green this weekend?
He's Bobby fucking Green. He's the king. And what that translates as is there's no actual logical reason that he wins this fight. Okay.
It's hard, isn't it?
If I'm taking Islam, because the problem with Makhachev is I don't believe he's Khabib yet, because there was a ruthlessness and an aggression and, an explosivity with the way that he could take you down with single and double legs that I don't quite think Makhachev has. But what he has to balance that out, and instead of that, as you say, is he's got judo, he's got Dagestani wrestling. He can take you down in the clinch. He can take you down in the open. He can take you down pressed against the cage. And if one way doesn't work, he can just throw so many different questions at you that eventually you're going to make a mistake and you're going to miss out on what you meant to do on one of them. You're not going to see the trip. You're not going to see the hip throw. And you're going to be down on the ground. The other thing that he's got is he's a much better striker. It's not just that he's a better striker, but he has a willingness to test his striking in fights. I think we've seen, apart from the Dan Hooker fight, certainly against Thiago Moises, you could see that he wasn't actually going for a takedown in the first round. It's almost like he was viewing it as, okay, let's get some practice here. Let's work this, through. And he was effective with it. So there's so many different problems for Bobby Green. And he doesn't have that, I would want one punch knockout power. That is, if I'm taking this fight on short notice, that is the tool I want to know I've got in the back pocket. Because I want to be able to, one, think that I only have to catch this guy once. And I know that that can happen because it's happened before. And two, I want to be able to think that no matter how bad maybe rounds 1, 2, 3 go, I've always got that thing in the back pocket to keep myself motivated, to still be willing to scramble and put the effort in. And my worry about this is that Bobby Green's very precise, and it's not that he couldn't knock him out if he catches him straight down the pipe as he likes to throw, on a punch that he's not seeing, wobbles him. Of course that can happen. But if it gets to like round 2 or round 3, my worry would be that Bobby starts to get a bit demotivated. I'm not going to win this on decision. I'm not going to catch him. I'm starting to get tired. And then you just kind of lose that fight, which is exactly what a Makhachev can do to you. But Bobby Green doesn't give a fuck. And I think that is going to be his best asset in this. Other guys would be getting in their head a little bit and thinking, man, this is my chance. I could get myself into a title shot. I don't think he actually gives a fuck. Like, I'm sure he'd love to be the champion because it's more money, but it's not the same driving force as it is for other fighters. So he is just
shades of like Winter Habib, He's able to put up that fight because he doesn't feel the pressure. He's never going to quit because he doesn't feel the stakes,
Yeah. And the one thing I'd say with him is that I think his stance is going to really help him out. One, he can switch, which I think is going to be really beneficial to creating angles and being able to catch Makhachev. But he doesn't throw a lot of kicks. And so, I always think one of the issues that Dan Hooker had is that his style is so predicated on those leg kicks that eventually they're going to get caught. It's such an easy way to be able to take somebody down if you know that's going to happen. But Bobby, he's going to have his hands low. He's not going to be looking to block a lot of things. So you're not going to really get that reaction of the hands being raised so much when you throw strikes to try and set up the takedown. His hands are going to be by his side, which makes it a lot easier to sprawl and stuff those kind of shoots. And his style is predicated on movement. So it's unlikely it could happen. I'm going to put money on it. I'm not going to put a lot of money, but it's going to happen. No. But my pick is going to be Makhachev. Like, there's no question about that. Like, I have to pick Makhachev because I've got a brain. But I want to believe. For the next 2 weeks, I want to believe everything that Sam Alvey explained to us last week is wrong in some exceptions. And Bobby Green can wrestle.
Look, honestly, I don't think it's going to be the same Makhachev that, ran through Hooker. I think it's going to be more, the Makhachev that was smart about it, didn't take too many risks, would leave it in the stand-up where he could and would be opportunistic and wait for his opponents to make a mistake and, get enough takedowns to sort of take those rounds off of him. I think Makhachev's going to get a submission, but I think it's going to look like a reasonably close fight, because Makhachev has too much respect. He won't be in cruise control, but he's not going to be, I don't think he's even really going to shoot on Bobby. I think that when he gets the opportunity to, get a throw or a trip in, try and read Bobby somewhere, maybe in the clinch or in the open mat, but I don't really see him shooting on him. I think this could easily go in the 4th or 5th round. It's a hard ask to put in 3 rounds against Nasrat Haqparast and then come in and do 5 against Islam. He's got everything going against him here.
Well, he wasn't
Instead, I wasn't bring
conditioned
up
for 5
smacks.
rounds. Let's say, because let's paint a different situation. Let's say we're looking at a situation like when Brandon Moreno fought Davison Figueiredo the first time, where super short notice and they're coming in. It was okay because Figueiredo had conditioned himself for a 5-round fight, and it lasted a minute and whatever. He took no damage, but that was the conditioning that he had.
Yeah.
And it was okay for Brandon Moreno because he doesn't really cut that much weight to get down there. It's not as much of a tone in his body. And his style is all about being ridiculously fit. Like, that guy can go for fucking days. And he's little, so, it's easier to... You're using less energy with every single strike. Bobby was conditioned for 3 rounds, and he cuts a lot of weight to get there. And he didn't come out of that fight unscathed. If he pulls this off, it's a fucking miracle. It should be up there with... In reality,
Juliana
it should be
Pena.
up there with Juliana Pena,
Matt Serra.
I mean, all of them. And even more so because of how stylistically bad the matchup is, specifically for him. Well, I suppose actually Serra shouldn't have had a fucking hope against GSP, really, on paper. Yeah, it's up there as far as I'm concerned. And not that it's going to happen, but if it does, I want to see Green versus Dariush for a number 1 contender fight.
It's going to be a hard ask for some of the other fighters in this division, but that would be a good fight if he wins.
You segue brilliantly with that because we're now going to have to play the shame list. I've got the rankings in front of me, and we have to assume that every single person ranked between Makhachev and Bobby Green was called before Bobby Green to see if they're willing to take this fight, which means that the following people clearly all said no. Now, some of them have a good reason, so some of them I'm going to forgive. But let's be honest here. Michael Chandler, he's fighting Tony Ferguson. No way in hell he's going to not take that fight in Brazil. Yeah. Like, completely understand. RDA. Okay, I get it. You're fighting Fiziev. But, like, for fuck's sake, we've been trying to see you fight Makhachev for like a year and a half now. You really wouldn't have taken that fight? You don't think they could have fucking done something for Fiziev? Fuck, yeah. Tony Ferguson, you're fighting Michael Chandler. No disrespect there. Dan Hooker, you're going to be a featherweight. No disrespect there. Conor McGregor, I don't care if your ankle's broken. I'm still going to assume that they called you, which means that you said no, so fuck you. But Gillespie, Gamrot, Surukian, Riddell, Diego Ferreira.
I don't think Gillespie takes short notice fights. He likes quite like a regimented thing. He likes to approach it all on a mental point. He kind of ramps himself up. Yeah, to us, all of them are going to have their excuses. And frankly, you can call it a shame list if you want, but Islam Makhachev is not a guy you want to fight on 2 weeks' notice. And we've had lots of discussions about the damage you take, doing your career the right way, making your money. I kind of look at, say, for example, Armin Surukian. Like,
he did lose to him quite recently, so I'll forgive that one.
Well, so did Dan Hooker, but like, you wouldn't want to get that
featherweight,
one back.
Bro. Dan Hooker's featherweight now. I don't even look at him in those lightweight rankings.
Well, a featherweight's the best guy to call to a short notice lightweight fight.
True.
Food for thought. But yeah, the Makhachev, it was recently, but Surukian's made strides since then. It's, his lone blemish in the UFC. I'm surprised that they didn't just kind of
bump him
find
up.
A different opponent for Joel Alvarez, or move him back to a different card with a different opponent. That's with 2 ranked lightweights on the card and with 1 fight falling apart, just sort of seemed like that would be the go-to.
I think Surukian was definitely asked, and I think RDA was asked. And those are the only 2 that I'm a little disappointed in, because I both feel that they should have had really good reasons for why they would take that fight. Surukian, it's a rematch. You get your chance to show that you can beat him. And with RDA, it's like, dude, you've been booked to fight this guy for 2 years. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, I know one of them wasn't your fault, but for fuck's sake, the moment Dariush fell out, you should have been shooting your hand up. Fiziev, why would I want to fight Fiziev? He's ranked number 11th. I could fight number 4. I get a title shot if I win this, which is the whole thing I've been back at lightweight to campaign for.
Well, do you think, because they're doing it in a catch weight at 160, do you think RDA can make 160 on 2 weeks? I mean, it's not like he's rolling off the couch to do it, but
he's fighting next week. He was meant to be originally fighting.
Is it next week?
Yeah.
All right. I thought it was a little later on. I had that one off. All right.
He was originally meant to be on last week's card. It was originally the headliner for Walker versus Hill. And then they pushed it across to beef up the 272 card.
Because you remember 2 weeks initially would have been enough to make that then, probably. All right.
If you remember initially, because initially it was going to have 2 title fights. So they probably didn't feel that they needed like a high-profile guy like RDA, but then obviously that's been pushed to 273. So that's why this fight got moved across. So
fair enough.
What's your prediction?
I'm going to go Makhachev by sub.
Same.
But I don't think he's just going to run through him. I think it's going to be a bit of a tepid feeling out process. He doesn't have to take any risks, so he won't.
Yeah. I would like to believe that Bobby Green can win. I think more likely he might. I think it could be in the first round. I think as my Warriors, as soon as he gets him down, it's over.
Yeah, I mean, if Bobby gets a takedown, he's on top. I can see him staying safe for a while. The other way around, yeah, it's gonna go south very quick.
We shall see. Right.
Have you got any reason to be excited for this co-main?
No, mate, not at all. Only just to see whether or not Misha Serkinov can actually be a middleweight, because he didn't look so great in his first fight in the weight class. And he should beat Wellington Turman. This shouldn't really be that close. If you can't beat Wellington Turman, then you really need to start thinking about things, because something's not going right. Wellington Turman, what's he beat?
Yeah, boy Sam.
That was a little bit of a harsh decision, I thought.
Yeah. Be the little weigh-in joker, Marcus Perez.
That's the one. That's the one I was thinking of. Did he fight the guy that you hate? His name's escaping me.
Michel Pereira.
Michel Pereira.
He's welterweight.
Oh fuck, he is as well. I'm thinking.
Is that who you were thinking of?
Yeah. I thought they fought for some reason, but I'm wrong.
No, he fought. Well, he's fought some other countrymen. He had that loss to Bruno Silva, where I did think that maybe he was going to show that he was a little better than he is. I think more than anything, he's just kind of young and one-dimensional and flat-footed. Misha Serkinov should be beating this guy, right?
He should be, and that's my pick. I'm going decision.
My pick is that I'm not going to enjoy this fight too much. I also went Serkinov decision, though.
Next, we've got... So, I'm on the Google UFC page, and it's got Ji-Yeon Kim versus blank. All I can see is that the blank fighter has got a 10-4 record.
Zombie Girl, Priscilla Cachoeira.
Ah. Well, that makes this very easy. I'm picking Ji-Yeon Kim by decision.
Yeah. There are some good fights on this card, but they didn't put him at the top. I'm going Ji-Yeon Kim as well by decision.
I've got an issue with the placement on this card, and I've got a big issue with some of the placement on next week's card, because we've got a ladies strawweight #1 contender fight that's on the prelims.
Well, even a week out, that could shift a fair bit.
It should shift.
Yeah. So when we do the pick show next week, we'll complain about the lineup for that one, and even then, it might still shift.
Now, we get to the fight that really should be the co-main event on this card. Armin Surukian taking on Juel Alvarez. And, I mean, on paper, I have to think, let's be honest here. Surukian, he's not as good from what we've seen as Makhachev, but he's got that same relentless, grappling ability on the ground. And Alvarez likes to throw hands. So this isn't really a great matchup for him. He missed weight in his last fight, even though who did he take out? It was so unexpected. Was it Ilia Topuria? No.
No. Thiago Moises.
That's the one. That's the one. And I was
who,
not expecting that.
Also for Surukian, right? Have I got that wrong?
Did he?
Maybe they haven't met. No, they haven't. I thought they had a mutual opponent there. I'm wrong. Yeah,
no, Moises fought Makhachev.
Thiago. Yeah, he did. Yeah. The thing is that Alvarez has also got some submissions, and the dude's tall as fucking hell. I think he's like 6'1", 6'1", 6'2", something stupid like that.
Probably explains the weight miss.
Yeah, for sure. That's the weight miss. I mean, he makes 55. He's still the right side of 30. Trying to find out how big he is. 6'3". That can't be right. I don't think he is 6'3". Maybe he is. My point is, the dude has got a really long body that he uses very well. He uses it well in his striking. He uses it well setting up like triangles, leveraging guillotines and stuff. Got those long ass arms as well. Yeah, convention dictates Surukian should win this fight, I think. He is a really good fighter. He's much improved since losing to Islam, but I got to figure he's probably a fairly safe betting favorite on this one. Not a huge betting favorite, but I imagine it maybe like plus 150, plus 200. So I'm going against the grain though. I'm going with my Dr. countryman Joel. Yeah, I'm going to go Alvarez. I still feel confident picking that. I want to read what I wrote down. Yeah, I'll go KO.
Okay, I'm going to go Surukian by submission.
And we have our first split.
There we go. It's going to happen eventually. Next up, we got debuting Armin Petrosian taking on Gregory Rodriguez. Don't know a lot about Armin Petrosian. Obviously, he is most likely Armenian descent with that name. But Gregory Rodriguez has looked pretty fucking impressive since he's come in. I mean, what was it? It was the short notice fight against Todorovic. Then he beat
Junior
Park. Walks out to Rocky.
Yeah, the smiling turtle dude.
Smiling turtle dude. The Iron Turtle. Such a great ring.
Yeah. Big fucking fan of that dude. And that was a good fucking fight. As long as it lasted.
Back and forth. And he hits fucking hard, Gregory Rodriguez. Like, he looks like he's a little slow, but he's defensively pretty solid. Keeps the high guard. And when he strikes, it's pretty nasty. So I'm going to go Rodriguez. I don't know fuck all about Petrosian. So yeah, Rodriguez by KO.
Yeah, Petrosian, hard to kind of like talk about what he's going to bring to the fight. I'm thinking KO as well. I don't want to disrespect Armin. I know nothing about the kid essentially, but octagon jitters plus Robocop equals, you getting caught in your chin. I think kind of the same way, pal. Robocop KO.
On to the prelims, and first fight that should definitely be on the main card. We've got Zhu Rong taking on Ignacio Bahamondes. Bahamondes coming off that spectacular spinning head kick knockout against was it Roosevelt Roberts?
Yeah, Roosevelt Roberts.
Who Roosevelt being pretty beaten up already at that point in the fight, but the fact that it ends on that was pretty damn sweet. But Zhu Rong is no joke, man, but got to stick with Bahamondes, man. Bahamondes by KO.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how good his cardio really is. But when he needed to, when he was exhausted, he found that technique, found that wheel kick. It was beautiful. I'm going to go with Nacho Bahamondes. I'm going to say decision. I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think we're going to get another split pick. I knew I reached my boy Joel. I feel confident about it. This is my week.
Fair enough. Josean Nunes taking on Ramona Pasquale. I'm just going to say Nunes by decision. Don't know much about either.
Nunes actually got a knockout in the UFC, right? Who was it? Yeah, Bay Maleki. Last fight out. Pasquale, I really don't know too much about at all. She has fought in Invicta. I don't watch Invicta religiously. I must have missed her. Yeah, I'll go with Nunes by decision.
Strong. Takes us on to the other fight I'm really looking forward to on this card.
T-Rack.
Terence McKinney is finally back, taking on Perez Arm. We were meant to get this fight a little while ago. Got cancelled. Did somebody get COVID or injured or something like that?
Let me bring it up real quick. Yeah, McKinney's cornerman tested positive for COVID.
That's the one. So we're getting this fight now. And Terence McKinney, great story, great debut, huge amount of fun, loads of potential. Perez Arm obviously had the win against Vendramini, I want to say. Luigi Vendramini. Yep. Has had his moments.
In the UFC as well.
Yeah, he's had a few. And he's definitely got talent. They're both young guys. The Arm's 24. Terence McKinney's a bit older at 27. But I kind of feel like the hype might be real with McKinney. I think he's going to go in there and starch him. I'm going to say KO McKinney.
Yeah, Alvarez did have the win over Malarkey, who we rate.
That's a solid win. The guy's hard to knock out.
Yeah, I did look up the betting line because I was interested in this one, and it was fairly even, but it's favouring Ziam. I am going McKinney as well, and I kind of went back and forth on maybe going with a knockout, but I'm going to be a bit more Parker Porter conservative. I go decision.
Strong.
Always.
Now, another guy that we're a big fan of, Jonathan Martinez, is back. He's taking on Alejandro Perez. Martinez had a bit of a rough time in his last couple of fights, unfortunately. So I'm hoping that he bounces back with a win. Perez is a dangerous guy, but I think Martinez should have enough here. I'm going to say Martinez by decision.
He did. He actually got a win after
he beat
the David Grant one.
Lazishvili.
Not to be confused with Davishvili.
No, Lavishvili.
Yeah.
He had a couple. What was it?
He's done well. He's beat Frankie Sainz, Thomas Almeida. I
don't know why. I thought we had another.
Two other guys I don't really remember. Yeah, well, he's got 3 losses in the UFC, but he always manages to bookmark them with a couple of wins. So the guy is 5-3 at the moment. I see him moving up to 6-3.
I agree.
Alejandro Perez, looks like a good fighter, but I think Martinez is, on that Song Yadong, Cody Stamen level. Don't like doing the MMA math, but even without looking at the records, I kind of think he's probably got this one. And yeah, again, I write them down in advance, but sometimes I change my mind on the methods because, frankly, I like winging it. Did no prep last week, finished 10-2. So the more homework I do, the worse I get. Martinez decision. I'll stick with what I wrote.
Yeah, I'm going Martinez decision as well. Ramez Brahimaj is back and he's taking on Michael Gilmore, who
we all remember from the Ultimate Fighter. Came in like he wasn't part of the original cast, just stuck around after the auditions and then after
that guy.
Yeah, this is that guy. He had his debut against Andre Petrosian, and
didn't go well.
that was when he did the speech. I was going to knock him to the moon. I don't know who. To the moon.
No, it was my next opponent. Might as well be called Jeff Bezos because I'm knocking that guy into the sky, into the moon.
Yeah.
Followed by a woohoo. We've discussed this, man. It doesn't work in the Apex. That shit only works if you've got a bunch of crowds around you. We've seen this. Did you ever watch any of the WWE when there weren't crowds allowed and they tried to for the first time they tried to, I didn't watch it either, but I was watching Ariel Helwani in DC that's all they had to talk about at the time. It was in the first lockdown. And they tried to do it, but they hadn't changed any of the camera angles. They were just using the same kind of setup, but with no fans. And obviously it looked fucking ridiculous because it was just a bunch of men doing all the same gestures to the crowd, doing all the same over the top stuff. And then basically they realized that if you haven't got a crowd there, you can't do that. So what they did is they changed all of the angles and they made it all like a little bit lower down and less screaming, less shouting, more direct, more kind of to the camera, things filmed a little bit differently. And I didn't watch it, but apparently it made it a much better product. And I kind of feel you have to be the same in the Apex with like how you handle the post-fight speech. It's got to be a bit more, like literally read the room.
Yeah, you can't do crowd work without a crowd.
But
I'm not picking Gilmore. I too old, just not quite UFC caliber in my opinion. Like the guy's story, liked him on the Ultimate Fighter. I wouldn't normally pick a guy like Brahimaj, but just best of the bad bunch.
Well, we'll put it this way, dude. You thought Brahimaj was going to beat Court McGee.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
And Court McGee was fucking awesome in that fight, but you still thought that Brahimaj was a good young talent that might be able to, get some wins. I kind of respect that they've given Michael Gilmore another shot. They gave him a shot in the Ultimate Fighter and he didn't win. Then they gave him a debut in the UFC and he didn't win. And obviously they've at least respected the fact that this guy sacrificed so much to try and make this happen, that they are giving him every opportunity that can be afforded for a guy with his stock. But I kind of think this is where it's going to be ending for him, man. I agree with you. I don't think he's got enough. It'd be kind of cool if that's wrong, but I think it's going to be a Brahimaj submission.
He's going to have a bit of a size difference. If he can end up on top, maybe you can make use of that. But yeah, I don't know.
I didn't pick up on it. Of course, it's welterweight. That could make a difference.
Yeah. And, Brahimaj isn't small, but he's not huge. And Gilmore, to be honest, looked fairly filled out at middleweight. He didn't look like a small guy. It'd be interesting to see how well he does on making weight. I can't really remember much of his career. Obviously, if you're going into the Ultimate Fighter as a middleweight, quite often that does mean you are a welterweight, because otherwise it's just insane cutting weight that many times in a short span.
I'm expecting Gore to cut down to welterweight eventually. Maybe even for his next fight.
So I'm looking, a couple of catch weights in the last welterweight fight for Gilmore was 2018. And since then, it's all been 165. Apparently, this dude made 165 pounds in 2019. I've got to be looking at the wrong guy here. No, Michael Gilmore. I don't know.
Let's see what happens. I'm predicting he probably loses, but fuck, it'll be a story if he wins. And that takes us to the flyweight bout. I think it's two debutants, Altamirano taking on Carlos Hernandez. I might as well flip a coin on this one. I'm just going to say Altamirano by decision.
Oh, perfect. I went with Hernandez. So,
hey,
and I literally flipped a coin.
There you go. I just went by who had more fights. Well,
you got a decision as well?
Yeah, I'm playing it safe, mate. Decision. I don't think that it's going to come down to the methods on this one, man. I think we've got enough separation for it to
we've got two.
Itself.
But two, so if we split those, it could all go wrong.
Have we only got two?
Yeah, we went. Both went Brahimaj, Martinez, McKinney, Nunes, Mondes, Robocop. Wait, yeah. You went Surukian. I went Alvarez. We both went Jion Kim, Serkinov. Well, the main and the co-main fucking pick themselves.
Yeah. Fuck. Well, we'll see what happens. Maybe it does come down to the old decisiones. Methodones, I should have said. But good card. Way more excited about 272, of course, but this one is going to be a lot of fun, although I am nervous that main event just ends up being a bit of a damp squib. Let's talk about Jon Jones. We're not going to talk about it for ages because I don't want to kind of rub it in. But obviously he's tweeted that his fiance left him months ago. And if you want to dig in and make him feel like shit, now's the chance because he's feeling pretty shitty. Colby Covington had one of the darkest, but admittedly quite entertaining reactions to it. which is congrats, John. Congrats or something like that.
You finally knocked some sense into her.
Good to see you finally knock some sense into her. I don't want to kick a guy when he's down, man. Like, we all know John's a piece of shit, and she probably should have left him ages ago. But that's his personal business. It's not for me to comment. The thing I would comment on is I don't know why he tweeted about it. Like, you're asking for trouble. You're asking for people to come out.
Seems to have been a guy of like sound mind, you know. He's always had a problem with weird tweets, and you know, even after the thing in Vegas, the Hall of Fame induction, you know, that video he posted of him and his fiance just basically making out in the car. Like, see, she forgave me. We're fine. Like, I don't know. The
also, you don't even know. You don't even know with a video like that if that was from that day.
I'm trying to remember. Did he not say something to the camera or something? I don't know.
No, she kisses him, and there's writing on it, but there's no actual proof that that was from that specific day that he posted.
Well, there was how weird and creepy it was. It definitely felt like that was where it was going to be on the timeline, you know. And who makes videos like that anyway? I don't know. I don't fucking know. Homemade softcore porn. It's just weird.
But obviously, Colby had no issue being the first man to start spearheading it. But I'd imagine he's getting a lot of abuse. And that kind of leads me into the other thing, which is that have you heard about Jamal Hill? Kind of going on Instagram and making a video, sort of trying to tell trolls to get off.
First I saw what Johnny Walker said, you know, about, you know, basically being kind of upset about people saying like, I'm going to come back stronger from this, whatever. But like, you know, this is my health, and all these people kind of making fun of, you know, my health is really fucked up. And then, Jamal Hill's come out and ultimately just never ending like the class with this guy. He is just exactly the sort of person you want to see succeeding in sports. Coming to his defense and telling people to get fucked, basically. Kind of like when Izzy came to Brunson's defense. You remember that, the bad cunt tweet?
No. Generally, Izzy shat on Brunson every time I've seen it. I didn't realize that he ever defended him.
But you know, some guy, I believe it was a Kiwi, a New Zealander, making himself out to be a good cunt, ripping on Brunson on Izzy's behalf, and Izzy being like, "Nah, fuck you, you don't even do that, bad cunt." Or it was definitely cunt, but I can't remember. I think it was bad cunt. Izzy also had a very good jibe at John Jones on Valentine's. I don't want to steal his heat though. If you haven't seen it, just go check out his Instagram.
Fair enough. Good advice. Good advice.
Do you want to do a quick build up for the Bellator this weekend as well?
Oh man, I completely forgot to prepare for it. Sorry.
It's back in Dublin, and we've got some really fun fights. Sinead Kavanagh against Leah McCourt. You know, kind of the Queen of Ireland. That would be a fucking fun fight. Brett the Johns Pikey hoping to bounce back from his debut loss. Always a fun guy to watch. That would be exciting. And obviously Mousasi against Salter. I think Mousasi is going to run through him. Yes. Wait, fuck. Who is he fighting?
I thought Austin Vanderfort had the next title shot.
Yeah, sorry. My head's all over the place today. I'm very tired. Austin Vanderford, Mr. Van Sant. And Zabist's brother is fighting. Hassan Magomed Sharapov. So there are some cool fights, and it's on UK time. So it's Friday night, not too late for us. I'm definitely tuning in for this one. Live.
That's pretty solid. Yeah, that's a good shout, mate. That's a very good shout. Give me any tips on how I can watch that from the nation of Spain, please. In our
VPN and iPlayer. VPN and iPlayer. I don't know if there's any other way to watch it over here. I don't know if they put it on DAZN or anything.
I don't think they do.
I haven't had DAZN for a while now.
I've still got it. It's good for the football.
I'm also getting rid of Fight Pass. and I'm just going to watch it in Spanish from here on out.
Me too. They're not giving me a product that's worth the money that they're charging me.
It used to be so good.
And it's a shame because I thought,
so good.
Even up until all of last year, I thought it was a really great product. And my ability to just enjoy all the cards in HD and have that watchability, it was perfect. And I can't understand why they have fucked this up so monumentally.
It's weird. It was around the time that they managed to get our MMA stream shut down. And it was like, that really was the competition. So once the competition went, they just got lazy.
Goddamn laziness. Other bits of news that I want to touch on. Congratulations to Miesha Tate for winning Celebrity Big Brother. She's the first athlete to win Celebrity Big Brother. It's good for her. I didn't watch it. She would have been the only person I knew in it. I don't watch the English Celebrity Big Brother. I'm not really a big fan of Big Brother, but I am a fan of Miesha Tate, and it's nice to see that she got a little bit of, notoriety or clout. Got some new fans for different reasons. It's not a bad thing.
She absolutely smashed it.
Well, I can imagine so. She probably was just one of the normal, level-headed, not having tantrums and getting on with it type character that people warm to.
Yeah, man, I fucking love Cupcake. And she's got that Brian Stan element to go out and dominate the corporate world as well.
Yep. And listen, it can do great things for a career. Look at all the doors that got opened outside of fighting for Paige Van Zandt from going on Dancing with the Stars. Yeah. Obviously, that might have a slightly bigger fan base, but I don't know who watches Celebrity Big Brother in America, but cool either way. And then last thing before we go, Dominic Cruz is saying that him versus Jose Aldo is the fight to make. And I can't disagree with that.
Yeah, I've actually got a couple of things I'd like to tag in before the end, Matt.
Oh, go.
Have you seen the video of Piccolotti vomiting on his weight cut?
No.
Basically, the guys, basically come out and said about how bad his fucking weight cut was. Video, footage of him like vomiting, throwing up. And, for his honesty, and I don't know really if I'd say it's right or wrong, but he's been suspended by the commission. And it's just this sort of age-old debate of how much is too much with weight cutting. What's the safest practice? How do you eradicate weight cutting effectively? And I don't know that we punish people for sharing their experiences is the right step forward, because it just means that people are going to be more secretive, which ultimately means less people involved, less serve the correct medical attention. I don't know how I feel about the man's suspension. I don't know how much is actually going to affect him if he can just fight in other commissions, I would assume. But it sends the wrong message in my eyes. At the same time, always advocate for fighter safety, and you want to kind of eradicate this business of weight cutting altogether. My mind's in turmoil. How do you feel about this?
I don't think it's possible to cut out because, they've tried to kind of do this with one championship with the hydration tests, but, unless you naturally are just able to fall on the weight, it's, or under, I think it's, the issue I don't think is the act of cutting. It's that in a sport like boxing, you don't get guys cutting nearly as much, because there's more weight classes. And generally what will happen is there'll be rules about things like rehydration. So, for example, and this happens a lot if guys are changing weight classes or all the rest, like Canelo's had these stipulations in a few of his fights, where you agree that you weigh in at the weight for the fight, but then there's also an agreement that the next morning you can't, or before you step into the ring, your weight can't exceed a certain amount after rehydration. The idea being that you have to have just got your weight down to an acceptable level rather than just cut a lot of weight. And I think something like that would be a far more realistic element to impose. It would be a more tricky element to impose. It requires a little bit more, organization. And obviously a lot of people aren't going to be receptive to it. You'd have to kind of change the format of how you organize and how the show goes to accommodate that kind of extra level of weight testing. But
how many champions are forced to give up their belts because they won't be able to defend them again?
So I think there are things that you can do, and I would look at boxing as a solution. But the issue isn't guys that need to cut 5 or 6 pounds because they're kind of around the weight and they just need to get below a number. The issue is guys that are cutting in excess of 10, 15, 20% of their body weight in order to make a scale, sometimes more than that, which is not good for you in any situation in life. And I don't think it's good for long careers. Even as you were bringing this subject up, my mind, it's not just to the guys that you see look like death. It's the guys that cut a lot of weight, and then you see how long their primes last. And it's kind of worrying. Look at Chris Weidman, cut a huge amount of weight, particularly before he was kind of doing the whole nutritionist thing to make 185. And he's talked about one time he took a short notice fight and he literally blacked out after making 185. So, and then you look at some of the injuries that have happened to him, some of the ways his chin's been shut off later on in his career. You look at all of the injuries that Luke Rockhold's had and the problems he's had, and then he started getting knocked out. I just think it puts so much wear and tear on your body, regardless of the fact that you're doing all the training camps and the coaching and the practicing and the when you don't have a fight, the training that you do, and then obviously the fight itself. That it's really like just pressing the accelerator button on your career. Look at Conor McGregor. Do you think if Conor McGregor had been a lightweight fighter much earlier on in his career, that he maybe, and also the partying and lifestyle doesn't help, but he's having these same kind of problems that like a Chris Weidman or that Luke Rockhold's had, where it's like the legs aren't as strong. They have all these leg break problems, and
that can happen with anyone ultimately. I think for him there are other things that could be affecting his bone density. But yeah, with him, it's attitude, lifestyle, and inactivity for sure. But yeah, there's not even a discussion we had like weight cutting is a bad thing. But I mean, when fighters, athletes are talking about what they go through personally, and then and by the way, it was the Mohegan Tribe Athletic Commission, so it is kind of a useful one for Bellator. They do a lot of events. It's something they can game plan around, but it's just kind of frustrating. They've got to send the right message, but is it the right way to do it? Punishing people for being honest and talking about things because you don't want to nurture a culture of secrecy.
No, you're absolutely right there. You're 100% right there, and it sends the wrong attitude. It is the wrong attitude. It's a discussion that we should be having, and it's not necessarily. I think the problem is that, particularly for a sport like mixed martial arts, that feels like it had to fought through a lot of bureaucracy in order to get respected and where it is. I think they get very defensive about anything that can kind of shed a bad light on the sport, even if it's not something that's necessarily going to be a bad outcome for them. It's just something that we all understand and we get more information and we have to address. An example I'll give you is, you could have thought that like 2002, 2003, the whole invention of CTE and and the situation the NFL was going through there could have potentially ended the sport. And they're still not great on it. But at the very least, once the dialogue was had, you understand that, you can mitigate things. There's changes that can be made to the game that are healthy. There's awareness that can be made to the athletes so that they can make the decisions. And, all of this isn't necessarily a bad thing, and it's not the end. And it doesn't mean that the sport's going to be taken away from you. It just means that people are going like, okay, we're loving this. We're noticing this problem. This isn't great for a lot of reasons. You don't like it when guys miss weight. You don't want champions that struggle to get there because they cut loads of weight and then they look like zombies after one defense. You want guys that can fight more often and don't need to take 5-6 months off, not so much because they can't fight, because they can't handle the weight cuts. So let's have this discussion and don't view it as an attack. Don't view it as, something that you have to be defensive on. View it as something that we can open a dialogue on and kind of figure out the best solution, understanding, of course, that this is still fighting and we completely accept that there's a level of risk and danger that these guys are going to take. And for a lot of them, getting dehydrated doesn't feel like it's the same kind of risk or any greater risk than the risk of damage they're going to take in the fight. And they want the advantage.
Yeah. And there's also there's that part of me that thinks that whatever you're able to kind of say like, all right, X percentage is as much water weight as you can cut healthily, and we will not tolerate more. You would have to change the whole system. You can't be saying that to independent contractors. You can't be saying like, right, we won't pay your healthcare, your insurance, you blah 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 blah. You don't fight, you don't get paid. You get injured just before the fight, you don't get paid. But on top of that, we're going to add to the restrictions. So there's like that little part in the back of my brain that's like, the whole system needs to be overhauled. If you want to make these effective changes, these people need to be basically structured as actual employees. They need to have much more security and benefits, and then it's going to be easier to get them to go along with making the changes like for safety and longevity. Because otherwise it's just get as rich as you can, as quick as you can. And, you got to get every possible advantage and no one's on your side. Share nothing, talk about nothing. Like, it's just not the way to go.
I agree with you. And obviously that's the best outcome. No, for a variety of different reasons. I think even if you're not quite willing to go there, when you look at, I'll give credit to California. This is something that they are trying to introduce, and there are certain fighters that they just go like, not on our commission, because we just know Paulo Costa is not going to cut the amount of water weight within our limits. The problem is if you only have one state that does it, it just means that those fighters don't take the fights in that location. So it needs to be something that's either uniformed. I think if you were looking at a short-term measure, having Vegas and a couple of other key states implement some kind of policy around this that you can measure as a kind of short-term fix would mean that for the vast majority of fights that the UFC are going to put on, it's going to be a requirement, and that would make a big difference. Longer term, obviously, like you say, if you really wanted to do this, you'd have to... It would have to be a whole change of policy. It's not necessarily easy because the thing is you'd still have people that would find some way to do it. And I think that's the kind of the negative argument around it. And the worry is that it, quite often when you tighten restrictions and rules around this kind of stuff, people then end up taking more and more dangerous and extreme measures to try and achieve the same result. So it's also one of those things that I would worry could lead to people trying something way more drastic in order to achieve the same result. Or you would end up, I think, with the potential for corruption.
Yeah.
We're getting in. Sorry, I'm listening a lot of shit.
I've gone out of focus.
You did. I noticed that.
There we go. I got up to like itch my back and pull my jumper down a bit, and then everything just went fuzzy. Yeah, man. I'm getting too deep on that. I've gone down the rabbit hole. Just final thing I want to bring up outside of the MMA, but apparently Triller have made a sizable investment in bare knuckle boxing. Bare knuckle FC. Interesting. Actually, really starting to put their money where their mouths are in terms of injecting fighter pay increases across combat sports. As much as I don't like these people, I like what they're doing.
I think there's another motivation for why they've done that. I think they were staring at themselves going, we haven't really ever had a good, clear idea of what we want our product to be. We've got money to invest and we've got some decent intentions. But that's the point. We're trying this, we're trying that, we're trying triangles with these hybrid rules, and it's not really catching on in the way we want it to. All the while, this guy, Dave Feldman at Bare Knuckle Fighting Champion, Bare Knuckle Boxing, has been making his thing happen and slowly but surely accumulating some talent and garnering interest. And so I think they're looking at it going like, okay, well, this guy's at least got the model. He's got that new thing. He's new enough that he needs an investment like us. So we can put our promotional ability and our money into a guy that's got maybe a bit more clarity on what the actual product should be. and it's well thought out. And because this is the thing I'll say about bare knuckle boxing, like it is a little barbaric, and the hands afterwards is a bit fucked up, but there's a real logic of it. This idea of going back to like the classic, old style boxing where people didn't have the gloves, how much it changes the sport and the way that you do it. And he has, to his credit, found a product that is its own thing.
Fisticuffs.
Fisticuffs. He should have called it fisticuffs.
I'm pretty sure that's what the FC stands for. It's bare knuckle fisticuffs, isn't it?
It's bare knuckle fighting championship.
I know, but it fits.
Do you know what he should have done? He shouldn't have called his big events Knuckle Mania. He should have called them fisticuffs. Fisticuffs 1, then fisticuffs 2, the recuffing.
Yeah, fisticuffs 3. They have a rematch on there. It's the cufflink.
Oh, well done. Yeah. Well done.
And on that note,
guys, hit the like and subscribe button. Enjoy the fights. We'll be down next week to break this card down, talk about the news, and of course do picks for UFC 272. Guys, have a great weekend. Bye Dave, bye Laura, bye Teresa.
Bye Laurie, bye Dave.